This is a sneak peek of the newly revised cancellation of buyer representation agreement. Now it's C.A.R form COBRa, but I'm going to call this the COBRa form because it's dangerous, it's deadly, it can strike you, it can bite you, and it could be terminal. And I'll show you where and I'll show you why. Now this form has some serious changes, as you can see outlined in red. And when the official version of this form is released later this month in December of 2024, I'll go through it, I'll fill it out, and I will do a tutorial of how exactly to complete it. Because there is a use of this that's not deadly, that's not dangerous, and that is if someone just wants out of an engagement with their buyer. If the buyer says, hey, it's not working, or if the buyer wants to cancel, that's fine. Either party can cancel a representation agreement. But what makes this different, what makes this dangerous, is this section here. And now I just finished a sneak peek preview of a BRBC, the new representation agreement, and I draw the viewer's attention to this certain line, and let me just show you right now. It's this line. I have one over here on my other screen. And basically, they've slipped this in on agents. Buyer doesn't have sufficient funds to pay the broker, and there's now a contingency if you elect this. If you check this box, this form, this representation agreement, BRBC, becomes contingent upon the seller paying all of the compensation that the broker is asking for. And just let me bring this back. Amount of compensation, we're looking at a BRBC, how much you ask for. All of that has to be picked up by the seller if you check this box. That's why I say never do it. Now, let me show you how that plays out. Let's say someone doesn't watch my YouTube videos, so they're not as informed as those of you that do, and they check that box 9B2 or G2 9B2 on the BRBC. Okay, well, the buyer of course can cancel unilaterally. I mean, the buyer can say, "Hey, I want out of this representation agreement. It's not working for me." That's fine. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, that comes up in the course of doing business. How agents get shafted, and how they get shafted with this form, the COBRa form, is the buyer finds a place and they love the place, and the seller won't pay everything, look at the word all, broker's compensation due. And the buyer says, you know what? The seller's not going to pay you, and I'm not going to pay you, even though you're working for free for me. So I'm going to cancel on you. I'm going to get rid of you. 3's a crowd, and I'm just going to have the listing agent help me, or I'm going to self-represent, and the listing agent will probably help the buyer limp through it. So to avoid getting kicked out of a transaction, I'm talking about a full-on transaction, and it could even be after there's not an offer accepted. And by the way, I said in my other video on the BRBC, sneak peek, and I did a whole video on this too, that the DRE warned us. They released an alert, an advisory to licensees that this could happen. And if you think you couldn't be cut out of a transaction, you're wrong. The DREs just warned you. So let's see what this says. Okay, this is a scope of cancellation, unilateral cancellation, okay? It starts by unilateral, buyer wants out, okay? We come down here, they name the following property. Why a specific property? Why is this in uppercase? It's because they're naming the property they found, they love, that they want to buy, but your pesky commission is getting in the way. So when they need to throw you over the boat, they're going to check this, and it says, this unilateral cancellation is provided because the seller of the property, identified here, has declined to pay all of the broker's compensation due from buyer. And buyer has represented that buyer lacks the ability to pay broker. They do that over here on the BRBC. They check this box. Why an agent, why a licensee would check a box that they're going to work for free in hopes that some other random person that no one's met yet is going to pick up the tab for the person they're working for does not make sense. That's not rational thinking. That's not business thinking. That's not how it works. Okay, so we come over here and it says that, hey, this other person's, they've declined to pay all my bills. I mean, it's so outrageous, isn't it? I mean, that the seller has declined to pay all the broker's compensation. Buyer lacks the ability, highly subjective, by the way, whether or not the buyer actually can pay. Broker withdraws from representing buyer for the property identified in paragraph 2C2. Okay, so this is how the COBRa bites you. This is how you get bit by a COBRa and it terminates your commission. I'm letting you know here to look out for it, people, because I'll do a video that's tying all this together, but between the C.A.R settlement and the new California law going into effect January 1st, it requires a representation agreement, and the DRE's alert, and then now they've added this in here because they have this silly, insane, and ridiculous line on the BRBC. We have to be very diligent about completing these forms, screening the buyers that we work for, since we're working on spec for free in hopes of ultimately getting a commission. Okay, now, of course, when this form is officially released, I'll do a full tutorial on it. But for now, I'm releasing this video to all those licensees out there to avoid getting in this, and you avoid COBRa strikes, COBRa bites, if you don't check this. Okay, do not ever check this line on a BRBC. We're on page 1 of 5. Of the BRBC. Never check that line, please. And the COBRa will not strike you. Thank you for watching.